Well, I remember that those were some pretty difficult times in the United States as far as we were concerned. Times were rough. 1962 was not a very good year for us. There were many problems out there in 1962, and those that I experienced personally in 1962. So leading up to that, we had plenty of hope, but at the same time, we were concerned what would happen and how would this march go off.
I remember just a lot of expectations. I think there was some worry that many people gathering, there could be problems, and I think there was some apprehension in our country, but also there was great expectation of what this might do for our country.
Boy, I had not expected that much participation, but once I saw what was going on, I realized that people were really committed to this particular march, and they had so much that they felt they were going to accomplish or achieve from it. And therefore, as I listened to it, I realized that this is a big day.
And all of the marches were peaceful, so this march was planned to be a peaceful march, a peaceful protest. And they had no idea of how many people would gather for the march, but it was estimated there was 250,000 people, 250,000 people. And they marched from the Washington Monument to the Lincoln Memorial.
But the thing that was missed, and I always said it was missed, we never heard talk about the 75 to 100,000 whites that was a part of that march.
He was not just trying to do things for blacks. Yeah, he was black, but he was trying to do things and make things better for all of the personnel in the United States, all the citizens. That's what he was trying to do. And of course, we were looking forward to that.
I just felt that this was really a God-sent man to articulate a message as he did that day. Regardless to anything else, I just thought this is a real American and people should be listening.
Well, the day of the march, I was sitting in front of the TV.
Well, we were in Okinawa, Japan.
The day of the march, I was on the beautiful island of Guam, serving in Europe at that time.
I was in Bethesda, Maryland.
I was right here in Killeen, in my same address on Abercrombie Drive, and we watched it right here.
Well, on the actual day of the march, I had prepared for it, so I was what back in those days called a dormitory supervisor. I was in that office that day when the march was several of us, and we were there just observing what was being said.
I guess the part I remember the most is little black boys and little black girls will be holding hands, little white boys and little white girls in a common bond. That was, as a school teacher, that meant a lot to me.
I think the most vivid thing that came from me, from what Dr. King said that day, that he was bringing a check. You know, he thought today's speech was like that we are delivering a check to you, America.
He had a dream that his children would someday grow up and be a part of the American dream, the whole American dream. And that's what I remember most, that I was a part of this too.
That's what I really take away from his speech, is that change and do it peacefully, and you'll be recognized for what you do. So one day, as he said in his speech, one day hopefully that we'll be judged by the content of the character, not by the color of your skin. And that really gets me right there.
I think when I look back at this now, that march was a genesis, or the beginning of the Civil Rights Acts of 64 and 65.
It was my expectation and hope that this March on Washington would be a big catalyst for our Congress of the United States and our executive branch. President Kennedy had already started the movement. There had already been discussions, and tragically, little did we know, just 3 months later, he would be gone.
When President Kennedy was assassinated, President Johnson was committed to carrying out his civil rights legislation. And it was 2 days after President Kennedy's assassination that President Johnson sent the legislation to the Congress that he wanted approved.
Today, the most famous president this country has ever had, as it relates to me as an African American, is Lyndon Johnson. Lyndon Johnson carried through legislation that allowed me to go to any facility.
I could see things changing. We could go in stores. We could live in housing areas that we were not offered to live in before.
And the other thing that really made the difference is the fact that 1964 Education Act, that one made the difference, because when they abolished segregated schools and that kind of thing, it definitely made a difference in my life.
When I returned to the States, you could see that it began to seem like everybody was close-knit. Schools was beginning to integrate.
But I tell you what, I'm glad, because we got here in 1962, and it's a different Killeen today, a very different Killeen.
I've been in Killeen 38 years.
We came here in 1966.
Since '79.
I've been in Killeen about 25 years now. I first arrived in Killeen in 1960, but then I left overseas and came back, and I've been stationed other places around the country, but this is kind of an area that I decided that would be the best for me to settle in with my family, and I've enjoyed it ever since. And I was trying to make a difference in my community since I've been here.
I've lived here now over 50 years, so I've seen a lot of changes.
But one of the things that I realized when you asked me, did my life change after then? I tell you, it certainly did.
After that speech, and I'm not saying it because of that speech, time changed, things changed after his speech, because there was a wake-up call.
It made an impact on America like never been seen before, and we're still feeling that impact, a positive impact.